Hi, my name is Tammy, and I wanted to share a little bit of my testimony with you today. I remember back when I was a little girl, I was 5 years old, and I had been molested by my mom and dad's best friend. So I had a warped sense of who love was and what men were supposed to be in my lifetime. So by the age of 12, I had already started getting high on acrylic, sniffing glue, and stuff like that, trying to cover up the pain that I was feeling. And then when I was 12 years old, I was molested by my sister's boyfriend. And after that point is when I started shooting dope. And the dope led to having to have money, so more or less I got into prostitution at that early age too, so I could make a way for me to get high and to keep continually covering up my pain. And got in a bunch of trouble, in and out of jail. I think I made 11 trips to Christian County Jail. Also, 3 times I went to Pee Wee because I was constantly getting high and putting myself in positions that I didn't need to be in. I had an abortion at the age of 17, and I lived with the guilt of that for many, many years. Then at the age of 21, I had my son, which is a real blessing to me because he didn't take my path. Anyway, it was like 7 years later, and this is still going in and out of dope and continually using. And I had my daughter 7 years later, and she was born handicapped. And I believe in my addiction, I had thoughts of maybe being ashamed because she was handicapped, and I think that was one of my reasons that I continually used and got high. And just in and out of jail, shooting dope, sleeping around, still in my prostitution. And I kept getting busted and going to jail. And by the 3rd time that I was had gone to Pee Wee, I had served out a sentence and went straight to the dope house because I was really, really sick in my addiction. It was like 15 years on crack. Anyway, when I had gotten out of prison, went back to using, and it was, I think, about 8 months later that I had gotten busted again. But I was already to the point in my addiction that either I wanted Christ to take me out. I mean, I didn't know much about Him because I didn't have much to go on except for what I had gathered together while I was doing time in prison. So I knew about Him, I just didn't know Him. So I had gotten busted my last time. It was April the 24th, 2008, and I remember this date, and it's very important to me because it's the day, my last day that I ever was considering using. I didn't get high that day. I had asked God to do something with me, and He very well did. So I was in Christian County Jail, and I was really miserable and thinking of like all the things I went through and everything I'd done and how ashamed I was of who I was because of the prostitution and the drug addiction. And I had a woman in prison, in the jail, that gave me a book, and it was The Power of Praise. And I got to read that, and I had realized that maybe this is going to work for me if I just do this. So in my brokenness, I cried out to Him, and I said, Lord, thank You that I am a prostitute and that I am a drug addict, and I'm sitting here in this jail, and today I just want to give it all to You, and I'm going to trust You with it, whatever my outcome was. So at that point, I felt a release in me. And during the time of my incarceration, I had went to a rehab, and this is the first ever rehab I've been to. My counselors, I believe that God designed them just for me, because the guy that was counseling me told me I needed to go to the inner part of me and to get out the stuff. He said the dope is just a cover-up of what the inner core of the problem is. So I had to deal with the molestation and the rapes and everything else. And I believe in that point in my life is when I really truly meant it with God. I had played the game before and kept, God this and God that, and as soon as I got out, I was all about Tammy again. So this time I was broken enough for God to actually make a change in my life. And He heard the cry when I cried out to Him about, please, Lord, do something with me. Either take me out or do something with me, because I can't live like this anymore. And that is when I truly had been saved, set free, and redeemed from a drug addiction. And He's a good, good Father. He really is. And since that moment, from the day I walked out of jail in September of 2008, I have walked with God. I have been obedient to Him in relationships. Right now I am single, and I have been single for 3 years, and I believe in waiting on God to bring me someone, or being stayed married to God, because I don't need anything else to make me complete. I have all I have inside of me, which is God and the Holy Spirit. And I trust Him in every decision. He's kept me clean. He's kept me motivated to serve Him, to do what He wants me to do, and to just be obedient to Him. And I wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for Him. There's no 12 steps or no magical thing that can change your life except for Christ. Christ is the only way to me. And I thank you guys for giving me the time to give my testimony. Thank you.